I'm excited. It was awesome to get back out there. In the spring, everything was new to those guys, the offense and terminology, everything that we were doing. And so it was good to get out there after these guys had a spring and then had a little bit of a summer off season to get out where they were comfortable. The veteran guys I'm talking about, comfortable with the stuff that we're doing. And I felt like they had a pretty good summer, coming back in pretty good shape, working with Coach Mack and our strength staff, and just a lot of excitement. Excited to get going.
Brian, how long does it take for guys to get the system and really feel comfortable?
I'd say, it varies, I think. I'd love to say they get it right away, but I just think it's all about reps. And the more reps that they can get, I think usually you get a spring and then a fall camp, and I feel like the veteran guys who've been around it a little bit that get the majority of the reps start to feel comfortable with it. And so we'll have most of what we're doing in by game one.
Where have you seen the biggest area of growth in Aidan Chiles?
We're just challenging him on maturity, right? He's such a young guy. He was 17 when he came to Oregon State as a freshman, and kind of moving into that role to potentially be the starter, for us. He has never started a game, which I think people sometimes tend to forget. So I think just the maturity is something that we've challenged, and I see him take steps. We're just looking for it more consistently, and I think that's something as he continues to go through camp, that'll be something that we're asking him to work on. And it's been cool to see him, take those steps, but I think he can still continue to grow in that area. As just a veteran guy, consistency, being detailed, bringing some of the younger guys along with him.
He's had a year. Can he learn anything from Tommy, having been around so long?
Yeah, definitely. I think last year, he learned a ton just watching DJ when we were at Oregon State. Just kind of how he went through the week preparing for game day, and I think he'll lean on Tommy for that as well. And then I think he sees when Tommy goes out there, he knows he's played a lot of games, just how each rep and camp matters, and just the detail, the difference between the executing the play and creating a big play or something like that and missing it is so small at this level. It's so I think he's seen that and heard that a little bit from Tommy.
You mentioned not starting, but he also really, I think, had 90-some snaps. What is the difference for a quarterback in making that transition from getting some reps in the game to having a full game?
Yeah, I think there's just a little bit more pressure. Probably a lot more pressure on the starter. He's got the whole week to think about it. And as you kind of come in the backup, you kind of got nothing to lose really. You go in there and let it rip for your series, and I think that knowing that you're going to be the guy and you're going to be out there and having the whole week to really kind of think about that, I think the difference is that it will be in his preparation, and then I think being involved in a little bit more of situational football as well, where he wasn't doing involved in a lot of game management stuff at the end of the half, at the end of the game, and that'll be something I think always. You can practice it, but until you get out there and do it in the game when it's live and you got the crowd out there, it's a little bit different. So I think that's something that'll challenge him as well.
Quarterback is by nature a leadership position. I don't know him very well, but he appears to be an outgoing guy that other players migrate to. Have you seen that in the early days and in the spring?
Yeah, and I've seen it. This is one of the areas we've been challenged, and I've seen it good, and I've seen it not so good, right? So it's like, hey, sometimes when he loses focus and starts kind of messing around, and we lose, we lose a little bit of intensity maybe in the drill or the walkthrough or whatnot, it trickles down, through the offense. And when he's dialed in and he's going, we're going. And I think he's got that confidence, he's got that swagger, that moxie that you really love about a QB. And when he's got it going, I think guys gravitate towards it, and it's pretty cool. We're just challenging him to be more consistent with it. And in the drills, when it's not necessarily the team drill just going against the defense, it's like, hey, we're doing an evening walkthrough, or we're in an offensive meeting. The focus, all that stuff is something that we're just challenging him on to be better. And he's grown in that area. I just think that he can keep going.
It's a pretty big ask for a young player.
Yeah, but he can do it. We'll get him going. Yeah, and that's where he wants to where he can go. I think that's just an area that I think he can keep growing.
What do you think? Oregon State, how much is how much of the menu is available to this offense compared to what you had?
As far as the concepts, I think, the concepts be pretty similar. I just think at Oregon State, maybe we had a little bit more formations, varieties of the ways to run those concepts. right now, and then every off season we're always looking to tweak it and how can we make it, how can we make our system more, more explosive, more efficient in the way that we do it. So I think by the time we get to end of training camp, we'll have a bulk of what we did at Oregon State, and we're going to keep challenging these guys on the varieties of ways the looks that we'll present to the defense.
How has Aidan handled the move to the headset? And are you seeing that helping maybe in the development at all early on?
I do. I mean, it's. I just think it's like you hear it, and you can. I think it's easier for players to visualize the play, rather than having to kind of digest a signal or maybe look at a wristband or something like that. So I think it's helped him. He can kind of start to visualize the play as he hears it, and he's calling it in the huddle. I think it's been an advantage.
And Jonathan mentioned Nick Marsh the other day as kind of a player that's kind of emerging. I mean, what's that like for a freshman receiver to be able to kind of hit the ground running in college and get up to speed as quickly?
Yeah, it's challenging. I mean, it's challenging, just the speed of the game, and guys are coming up pressing you. It's a lot more physical on the perimeter, and then I just think if you have lack of detail at that position at this level, you get exposed. And if the timing's a little bit off, we don't go, and so it's sometimes challenging to play those young guys. And Nick's been awesome. I feel like he's mature. We've actually been able to move him around from X to Z, moving him in some different positions, and he's been able to handle it. So I've been impressed with his maturity at his age, and he's just a strong physical guy. That hasn't been really the issue for him. So yeah, I look for him to help us this year.
Is he somebody who can make an impact right away, you think?
I think so, and I think it's too early, almost, obviously, to say how much. But I think he's a guy that'll contribute this year and has the potential if he keeps progressing.
Can you give it 4 days in? Can you give us any kind of a general update on how things have looked so far?
Yeah, I mean, you're throwing in install on both ends, so there's some good things where it's like, man, I feel really good about it, and then there's some plays where you're like, especially today, where you're like, shoot, we got a lot of work to do, some plays though, you're like, hey, optimistic, and hey, we can do this thing, and we've got some pieces. We just, we need the rest of those practices, and all these walkthroughs and all these days before the first game to get us going, but. I'm optimistic after coming through the summer. I felt like our guys came back in pretty good shape, and we've got some talent.
Did you notice the Chiles and the receivers added chemistry during the summer?
Yeah, definitely. I just think those guys, they know the routes, they know the depths, they know the route stems, all that stuff, to where they'd been coached on it through the spring, to where they could go out on their own when the coaches weren't around and work on that stuff. And yeah, I think we've grown a ton from where we were coming out of spring ball.
Nathan Carter is, the guy that Jonathan has said is the clear leader in the backfield. Just wondering what you see in how you envision using him maybe a little differently than he was used last year, and kind of his potential.
Yeah, he's. I love it because he's a veteran guy. He's done a lot of. He's played in different offenses, and we're still trying to figure out kind of what his, just all areas of strengths. What run scheme he's really comfortable with. What he can do out of the backfield as far as a receiver, but I've been really impressed with him so far. He was another guy I felt like coming out of the summer, the strength guys just raved about. Leaned up, he's moving really well, and so yeah, I'm excited to see. I mean, I think we can do a lot of different. I think we can do a lot of different things, and get him matched up on some linebackers in the pass game and do some things like that. That'll be fun.
How does the fullback on the roster now? One fullback. What place does a fullback have in your offense?
Yeah, I love the fullback. I mean, a little bit different run fits for defenses, and there were times at our last place that I just think not a lot of people are running a lot of offense out of those sets, and so people aren't practicing a lot, and it creates some issues for some defense, and then the play action game off it is pretty good, and so yeah, we're working some different guys in that role, and we'll see how big of a package that's going to be. It's just too early to tell right now, but it's awesome to have some guys, working at that position.
Last year you had a 300-pounder back there. I know Coyne has moved over there. He's not quite 300 pounds, but are there thoughts of a 295-pounder like that? We're trying a variety of guys, and sometimes it's cool. You can get a tight end doing it, and see who's comfortable and who can negotiate it. But yeah, I mean, whoever we can find that's comfortable with makes it fun.
The reset up front on the offensive line, based on where you guys were at the end of the spring to this point, how did that maybe alter the schedule for what you want to do and install? I mean, how has that maybe affected the offense at this point?
No, we're pushing ahead with the install, and I think we're throwing a lot at them to see what they can handle, right now, and again, what their strengths are, and then switching up some different combinations of guys up front, moving a lot of guys around from different positions even. And Coach M, he does a great job, I think, with those guys, and we're just trying to see who our best five are right now.
Change the number game of how deep you want to go to with the difference?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing how many we feel comfortable with right now, and so we're trying a variety of guys, and some of those younger guys throwing them in, or transfers throwing them in there with the first group, and seeing where they're at. And I'd love to be able to have 7, 8, 9 guys that you feel pretty good about that we could throw in there, because you need them by the time you get to the end of the season.
Is it about more implementation, evaluation, or a combination of both at this point in the game?
Both, yeah. I mean, both. We're trying to get our system in, and then we're evaluating along the way, and seeing who goes and makes plays for us, and who we can rely on, and who's going to be a consistent performer and do it out here. Those are the guys that'll do it for us on game day.
Where do you see the synchronicity of the run game, especially with some of the zone blocking scheme and how it's come along?
It's coming along. It's coming along. We're definitely not there yet, and I think. Like I said, we're working different combinations of guys, and then the run scheme, some of the run scheme that we're bringing in is a little bit different from what they've done in the past. So I think guys, running backs, tight ends, those O-line, they're just, had some slightly different technique stuff maybe that they're learning to trust, and get confident in. So it's definitely a learning process, right? I feel like we've improved a ton from the spring, but like I said, I feel like we still got a long way to go.
Any early how valuable do you see Nate Carter being?
Huge, yeah, huge. I think he's a super talented player, and he's played a lot of ball, and he's tough, and I think he'll fit really well with some of the run schemes that we like to do. I'm super excited about Nate.
Any early impressions with K'Ron Lynch-Adams coming in?
Yeah, he's flashed a couple of different times, and it was good. I'm excited to kind of go watch the film and watch him when we put the pads on today, but he's a guy that's getting a lot of reps, and he'll be pushing up with the first team, working in there, and he's another guy that's just, you love his experience. But I like his maturity. He's picked up the offense fast, and had a good summer as well. So yeah, I'm excited to watch him.
Also, the first time you've been on the field with Parachek at tight end, right? He sat during
Yeah.
spring, so nice to see him out there.
Yeah.
What are your impressions of him?
Big, long, I think he's a guy that can play in line, but he's one of those guys that's talented enough that you can put him off the ball, and you can flex him out and do some things, and we're just, kind of scratching the surface, and we'll challenge him just like those other guys. But man, just the size and his ability to move at that size is, and we've had been around some pretty good tight ends, some draft pick guys, and I think he has the potential to develop into one of those guys.
We call the
guy who
game
could be a
upstairs,
fullback.
Ryan, or we be on we call the game upstairs, you'd be on the sideline, does the radio headset have anything to do with that?
Yeah, something we'll talk about. I've been upstairs in the past. We haven't talked about maybe how that affects, but in the past I've been up top.
Jack Owen has a chance to be one of the top tight ends in the country. How valuable is that to have that piece, especially given the fact that you guys are so tight end centric?
Yeah, no, it's great to where you have a guy that you can attach to the formation, and you can flex him out, and potentially you get the defense to be in a heavier personnel group, and you get some matchups that way. And so, Jack's awesome. He's been in the offense, for a couple of years now. So that's a big piece of what we like to do, and it's awesome to have a guy in that spot. So I think we're just challenging him to keep developing all parts of his game. Being an outstanding blocker when we put him in line as well.
Do you think he in particular could ease the transition to the Big Ten? For you guys, just the idea that this offense probably does translate pretty well to what the conference has.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
What do you need, almost minimum for this thing to work? Like, you've probably had different years, we've got different talent bases. Is there something you think, if I've got this and this, we can be competitive?
I usually say the offensive line, and I think that's I feel like our offense goes as the offensive line goes, and then your quarterback play, consistency of QB play, a guy making great decisions with the football. But I think big thing of, some offenses don't go, and it's like they always talk about the skill players in the perimeter, and I think it's, the best offenses I've been around, your offensive line is rolling, and your quarterback's playing at a high level. So those are the areas I think we're really challenging those guys to continue to develop.
Does that put even more on Tanner to kind of be a teacher and mentor, particularly with the changes that are around?
Yeah, I think Tanner's usually been kind of a quiet, guy, and now being a veteran coming in with experience, he's played for Coach M. He knows kind of his expectations, the way he wants it done, the way we do things. So that's been huge, and Tanner's a quiet guy, so we've been challenging him to speak up a little bit more, and that'll be something that, I'm excited to watch him continue to grow through camp.
What do you think about the way Courtney Hawkins does this thing with the receivers? I think he's the only guy that wasn't with you guys before, the only new guy on your side of the ball. Just what's it been like seeing how he works with his guys?
Yeah, it's been fun, man. Hawk, he brings an intensity out there. I love the way, I always like it, watching those receivers come off the ball and get involved in the run game, blocking on the perimeter. And I think that says a lot about you as a wideout coach. How do your guys compete when they're not going to get the ball when they're away from the ball? And that's one thing that I've noticed. Those guys are tough, competitive guys. I think that's the way he played when he went. So it's been cool, and then it's been fun to watch. You just get a slightly different take on maybe some different techniques and some different ways of doing things that have kind of that it's been fun to work with. So yeah, I've enjoyed it, and then it's awesome just kind of hearing more about the tradition, Michigan State and him being a Spartan dog and having done it here before and been around this program for a long time. He brings a lot of insight that way for some of our guys.
What has stood out to you so far recruiting the Midwest?
You can see a lot of guys, and you don't have to travel quite as far. That's the thing. I think there's a lot of talent within driving distance, and that's been really cool. I mean, there's a lot of kids that can jump in the car and come here for a junior day. They can come here to watch a game, and get guys on campus. And some of the other places that I've worked out west, it was a little bit challenging. There weren't as close places. Guys had to jump on planes to come visit you, so you just didn't have as many guys around the program. But that to me has stood out.
Is there a certain prototype you're looking for offensively?
Yeah, I mean, I think each position has a deal, but we're looking for guys that are wired, that are wired right, that love football, and Coach Smith can probably speak to more of the, the type of player that we're looking for there. But position specific, that'd probably take too long to get into right now. But I think that'd be a great question for Jonathan, maybe Coach Rossi.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.